Only 40% of Christians vote, and 24% are not even registered. Welcome to Freedom Alive. The Bible instructs us to be involved and engaged citizens who make decisions based on careful consideration of biblical principles. Of course, we should always pray for God's wisdom and guidance, then take action and vote during elections. John Graves is CEO of Million Voices and joins us to share some of the tools available to help us live out our faith in the public square and encourage others to do so. I'm blessed to again be joined by our co-host, Matt Staver from Liberty Counsel. And Matt, so many faith voters are disengaged and disenfranchised. There are churches all across the nation that are not using their voices.
Yes, and this is why I like John Graves' ministry, Million Voices, because he is engaging pastors and he has partners, which he'll talk about, and then also people. Great opportunity for individuals as well. But he has a lot of outreach to pastors and churches to educate them biblically about why it's important to engage these subjects from a biblical perspective. But then also he has the tools, and this is one of the things I like about John and his Million Voices organization, that are strategically capable of being able to put into practice voting strategies and getting people out to vote. And so he actually was somebody that we went to, I went to since I knew him, with regards to the abortion amendment in Florida, Amendment number 4.
I remember it well.
And reached out to him because he had a major texting operation that he had access to in Florida with information about registered voters and propensity voters. And so we were able to work together on this matter to educate people about the abortion amendment that was on the ballot in 2024.
Yeah. We are going to bring you so much valuable information in this episode. We can't wait to bring it to you, but our Freedom Alert is next.
The U.S. Supreme Court considers a state's right to block taxpayer funding for abortion. The High Court has recently heard a case about whether states like South Carolina can disqualify Planned Parenthood from the state's Medicaid funds. Liberty Counsel filed an amicus brief in the case, as did the federal government, 18 states, pro-life advocates in Congress, and medical professionals across South Carolina. The case could decide a circuit court split and set a legal precedent regarding how much sovereignty a state has over directing federal Medicaid funds. This could either allow states to defund and weaken the abortion industry or require pro-life states to keep subsidizing abortion. Congress did not create a right for individuals to have states pay for human genocide. Taxpayer dollars should never be used to kill children and harm women.
Up next, Matt's interview with John Graves.
It's a privilege to be able to welcome a friend and a special guest, John Graves, who's the CEO of Million Voices, also an attorney and a former software executive. So thank you for joining us, John. I'm excited to talk to you about mobilizing people for our Judeo-Christian values. Thank you for joining us on Freedom Alive.
Thanks for having me, Matt. It's my pleasure to be with you.
Tell us about what Million Voices is. What does it do?
It's a nonprofit association of churches, and we mobilize people of faith all across the country. We serve pastors, partners like your organization, and people that are people of faith all across America to get them to use their voice. And our whole passion is to direct them, build tools so that they can use it, not just in elections, but after elections are over in legislation, so that their voice is what's being heard. Kind of like being salt and light, we just call it voices, using your voice.
So how do you do that? How do you get organizations informed, and particularly let's start with pastors?
Yeah, well, with pastors, I've spoken in person to over 7,500 pastors in person. I travel the country doing that. We mostly work in critical battleground states for Senate, governor, presidential elections. But now we've expanded that to House, especially in 2026. And so we'll partner with these pastors. We have thousands of pastors that have joined our Association of Churches on 10 guiding truths. And so just to give you one example, in Florida, this last election cycle in 2024, we had a 1.7 million voter guides, candidate fact sheets passed out in churches, over 3,500 churches, 500,000 of them Spanish and 1.2 million of them English. In addition to that, we deliver them directly to the voters on their phones. And so those are the tools we do during the election. And then after the election, we give people a chance to sign up, and we put them directly in contact based on their issue to their local official, county official, state reps, things like that.
I know one of the things that you do, in addition, I'll go into more detail about how you do it, but one of the things is you have a very strategic approach. As I've seen you operate, you know, there's a lot of people that actually just speak to pastors, and you certainly do that as part of what your ministry does, but you also provide resources like these voter guides. But I know in Florida also you provided text messaging opportunity, for example, on Amendment 4, educating people about Amendment 4, the abortion initiative. So you have a lot of technological strategies that you have in your toolkit, so to speak. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so what we do, Matt, and most people don't kind of follow through how important this is, but of the 15 plus million people in Florida, we have all of their voter data, and we know who's registered, who votes and doesn't vote when they are registered. And so what we did for Amendment 4 is you and I spoke, and you were doing an incredible initiative, but I own database companies, software companies, peer texting companies, and we took the 2.5 million people who had not yet voted, who were faith people in Florida, and sent them messages to educate them. We do a lot of issue advocacy on things like life to get them to turn out. And then after every single election, we measure down to the person if they got a handwritten letter, if they got a text, if they've got a personal phone call, if they got a voter guide, whatever they got. Did it increase? George Barna's numbers are 75% of the disengaged Christians or low propensity people. The number one factor is a nonpartisan voter guide. They don't trust the media. They don't trust the PACs. They don't trust the party. And so we get a click to share tool to people of faith, and they just click a button and they can send that candidate fact sheet to their friends, because if they send it to 10 people, it's much more influential. So that's one way we help them use their voice. So we do a fully footnoted candidate fact sheet with all the facts. So for the president 2024, we had over 200 footnotes exactly where each candidate on the top issue said the issue, and it's irrefutable. We never endorse or oppose the candidates. We just give people the facts, and then they already have convictions about these things. We're just trying to get them to use their voice.
So you'll have like a parallel column, for example, in that case, between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And on issues, whether it's abortion, immigration, whatever it might be, you give their position, and then you footnote it so people can know where to go, and they just learn, and then they make decisions. So pastors then, those people that do go to church, the pastor's role clearly would be teaching biblical values so they can apply it to that voter guide.
Exactly. And we do the issues based on what people are telling us. What do you think is the most important thing? Instead of trying to tell them what to do, tell them what should be important, they already know what's important to them. And that changes each election cycle, so they can go to candidatefactsheet.org and still see that voter guide. And it's got 17 Senate, the president, the vice president, and they can see examples. And our hope, Matt, in 2026 is to do that for 47 to 68 House races, because the House is the thinnest majority it's been since the Great Depression, and that will determine if Trump's a 2-year president or a 4-year president.
So that's why I like what you're doing, because it's very strategic. Instead of just sending out a general text message or just going out to general states, you are making specific strategic decisions as to which place is the biggest bang for your buck, if you will. In other words, the most important way to communicate, the most important place to communicate. And so with regards to finding people like the low propensity voters, people that may go to church, but they may or may not vote. Yep. They have all these different questions. Yep. How do you determine that that person is a low propensity voter?
Yeah, so it's public if you're registered, and it's public if you vote. Nobody is supposed to know who you vote for, but you sign in when you vote. So we take the full database of any state that we work in, and we work in 17 to 25, 30 states every single cycle. And we take the full database, and then we compare it to the last decade of vote history. And so, for example, in Wisconsin this April, we had a huge ballot initiative on election integrity on voter IDs. Is voter IDs going to be required or not? Well, there's 2 million people who vote for president that don't show up in special elections like that. And so we mobilize people to get voters in Wisconsin, because Wisconsin's all three of the last three presidential elections has been the closest race and or the deciding race for who our president is. And the Senate was less than half. And there's House races that are going to be gerrymandered there. And so we mobilize people around that based on, hey, we know you vote for president. Why don't you come vote for these things? Because you could be salt and light and influence. The answer to all the problems in our country is the church. The church is the light. And when darkness is taken over, the government or Hollywood or academia, the light is the answer. So my whole passion is to identify these people and strategically mobilize so that they realize they're the difference. They're the hero of this story to me.
So in terms of trying to persuade somebody or get information out, have you determined what's the best way, or is it a combination of texting, faxing, direct mail, advertising?
Yeah.
In person?
The highest ROI is a direct contact. When we find a person who is a close friend who's willing to share that candidate fact sheet, the candidate fact sheet is number one. The cheapest ROI is delivering on the phone. People don't like all the text on phones from nonprofits, political, but they look at them, they read them. And when they see that it's non-biased, then they start looking at it more, and then it kind of goes viral and people send it. When their pastor hands it out, it does it. And we mobilize people, Matt. We have over 175,000 action partners. And so, for example, just that one small Wisconsin race in April that was a huge victory for voter integrity. Voter ID law passed there in that state. That's a big, big thing for the future decades of elections. We mobilized 8,000 of those action partners, and over 315,000 Wisconsin faith people who normally don't vote were sent personal handwritten letters or made personal phone calls, and all of them got the candidate fact sheet. And so we measure those kind of things, and over 100,000 of those people actually showed up to vote that normally don't. And so I tell my team, we don't decide election outcomes. Our job is to mobilize people to be salt and light, to mobilize them to use their voice, millions of people to start using their voice, because there's still tens of millions of believers that are not doing that. If we get just a fraction of them to start, it changes who governs us. And that's huge. Government belongs to those who show up. We've got to get people to show up.
A lot of people that are wanting to be able to make a difference don't realize some of these tools exist. I know, for example, in the Amendment 4 in Florida abortion initiative, we were able to use the I-360 voter app, and people were able to find out who they needed to go knock on doors. And so individuals that were volunteers or those that were part of the campaign, they were able to use that, find out exactly what door they needed to go to, knock on that door, give information, talk to somebody in person, or give a particular piece of handout that would educate them about what this initiative actually means.
Yeah, it is. It's those strategic tools. There's I-360, Data Trust, L2, Aristotle. There's several different tools that people use. And we're one of the people who just basically try to use those tools to identify people. But when you educate them, Matt, that makes a difference, because these ballot initiatives are so often, including that Amendment 4, deceptively worded. It seems like it's one thing, but it's really something else. It's the oldest game in the book. Satan did it in the garden. He did it with Jesus in the desert. He said, well, did God really say you're the Son of God? He twists even the scriptures. And so people have to have fact checking of what's real so that they can make good decisions. Otherwise, they stay home or they are deceived.
I know you worked with us in the Florida Amendment 4 to help us get the texting out, which something that we did not have access to, but you did, and you were very generous in helping us on that particular situation. Do you go into other states and work with other organizations that are there that may be like policy organizations when they have a particular race, like what's going on in Wisconsin, what was happening there with Wisconsin, help them as well to educate them and partner with them?
That's right. Yeah, well, that's why we call it, we serve pastors, partners, and people. So partners would be these family policy, including Florida. We partnered with them. We built the voter guide. We worked with them to build the ballot initiative answers. And then we co-branded the voter guide with them. We did it in Wisconsin. Moms for America sent 44,000 mail pieces into Wisconsin voter ID. to moms of faith who don't normally vote. And so we do it with all kinds of organizations. If they're aligned with our 10 guiding truths, Matt, we try to help them. We don't charge them anything. We just let them co-brand our candidate fact sheet, because I kind of look at them. When we say churches, most people think of a steeple, a little white building and 200 people. But in the digital age, churches can be online. They can be organizations, and they can be more focused on religious freedom or life or something like that. But that's functioning almost like a church. And so we serve those. We call them partners. My Faith Votes was one of them. And now they have actually joined us. We did all the back end data, the voter guides. We sent their peer texting for years. And now, because that was a Dr. Carson organization, Mike Huckabee became the National Honorary Chairman. He had to step down to become the ambassador to Israel. So that whole organization of activists has now joined up with Million Voices. And so, and we continue to do that. We serve a lot of those organizations, Matt, because I think those are the heroes, those frontline people like your organization that are out there doing the hard work of the ministry. Those are the people that we want to try to do something other people aren't doing and just help them.
So pastors and then partners, which is what we're just talking about, and then you serve people as well. So individuals can go to your millionvoices.org website. When they go there, what kind of resources would they expect to see?
Yeah, they can sign up for what we call a team. So like right now, after the 2024 election, all these new people are elected. Well, they answer a survey, and in the survey, they can tell us what's the most important thing to you. Guys and girls sports, life, religious freedom. What is your biggest passion issue? If it's election integrity, for example, then we connect you. Who's the most strategic person for you to contact of election integrity? Well, it's not the president. It's not your U.S. senator. It's your county commissioner. So we have built a tool for all 270 million people in America to connect to those 3,000 county commissioners, those 7,386 state reps or state senators, and we connect you to their name, their address. You can click a button and email them, call them. And now this summer in 2025, we're adding post on their social media, because we found that's the most effective thing with these legislatures. They're acting like they're conservative Republicans, a lot of them, but then they're not sponsoring a bill to keep boys out of girls sports. And when they get exposed on a free speech platform like X, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, everybody's going to know I'm not sponsoring this. I can't hide behind people's ignorance anymore. And so we just put the tool so that your voice is amplified. We amplify voices of faith so that it actually changes policy in this country. And so they can go to millionvoices.org and sign up. A lot of people can just text. If some of your audience is driving or listening to this and they're not where they can go sign up, they can text MV to 80550, and then we'll send them the link and all the ways in the survey to sign up.
That's amazing, because I know, with big corporations that are on social media, like X, for example, sending them a letter because you're complaining about what they're doing really doesn't do a lot. But going on their social media account and posting something, now all of a sudden you get a response. And it's the same thing you're talking about with politicians. That's a great way to get a response and to get the message out there. And then it's there, like you said, for everyone to see.
That's right. And sometimes the way I say it to people is, even if your politician doesn't have morals, or he's cowing down to the money leadership lobby, they can count. And so they know
they all need the same votes, right?
They want it. That's right. They can count, and they want to win their election. A lot of these state reps and county commissioners, they're winning by 500 votes. They're tiny, tiny margins. So what groups used to do, and some still do, they would sign a petition, a national petition, and that helps them build their email list, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the most strategic way to make change at the policy level. So we connect the person, they give us their address, I use that address to match, here's who your county commissioner, your state rep doesn't care about people in another state, but they care that you're a voter in their district, and then we educate them. We're saying we're praying for you, we appreciate your service, but we're very passionate about this issue, and we're going to tell all of our church members, family members, little league, family, neighbors, coworkers, and then they can count, Matt. And sometimes they just need a little help to know there's a lot of people. And here's the statistics. If 10 to 15 people in a state rep's district contact them about a single issue, it's like the house is on fire, because there's only two people who contact them, the lobbyists who are trying to buy their vote, or people who are angry because they can't fix some problem that maybe they can't even fix because they're not on the committee, or whatever. And so what we do is we say, listen, I'm a voter in your district. I appreciate your service. I'm coming almost as a servant and an intercessor to pray for you, but I'm also wanting you to do the right thing. And we see amazing results with it, Matt. We're pushing religious freedom with the lemon test all across the country right now in key states, because a lot of people still don't understand the lemon test is gone, and that stuff is a huge opportunity at the states.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. We've had it gone now for 2 years, and now we need to act like it and take back the territory that we lost for 51 years when it was in existence, from 1971 to 2022.
Yeah. That's right.
I like the 3 areas of division, and it's almost like a preacher I knew that would always have like a 3-part message, where everything would begin with a certain alphabet. But yours is really good. Pastors, partners, and people. And I love the engagement with people. So most people, no matter how politically engaged they are, they don't know their city commission. They don't know their county commissioner. They don't know those local politicians. They might know the state. They might know their federal, may or may not. But even those that are close to them, they may not know who their county commission representative is, but you give them the actual tools to not only know, but to communicate directly to all those local, state, and federal elected officials.
That's right. And one of the things we started doing, Matt, which is a really, really cool tool, is we had people that said, oh, yeah, I want to, that's really strategic. And I would go on a show like yours or Flashpoint or Daystar or Glenn Beck, and I would tell people about it, and they would say, I want to do that, but they're so busy they don't do it. Yeah. And I finally thought, wait a minute, for less than $1 a day, if they donate $25 a month, I'll send a letter from them to their state rep, from them to their county commissioner if they care about election integrity, their state senator, their federal, whoever's strategic. Every month they're in session, we send the letter. It doesn't have our logo. It doesn't have our name. It doesn't have our return address. And now we're basically helping empower them, and they get feedback, Matt, and some really cool stories where these people are going, man, for $25 a month, my state rep has called me. I've now gone to coffee. I'm praying for them. I have a relationship with them. And now when the next bill comes up, I can actually have influence, because you can talk to your state reps. It's hard to do at the federal level, but you can do it to a county commissioner or a state rep, sometimes a state senator. And so that tool, we call it the A-Team. You can sign up for that too at Million Voices. A lot of people started using that, Matt. And the key for us is we just want to we'll give you the tools free if you'll do it every month. But not everybody's going to go through the trouble to go do that every month. So I thought, well, I can either quit or I can come up with a tool that I'll do it for you. And it works really, really well. So
they can do it themselves. Go to your website. But if they need some help and they need you to help them, just $1 a day, and you'll be able to partner with them and make them active. Because, a lot of these people that start off at the local level, they end up in the state, and who knows, they may end up in Congress as well. So you have to make sure all those levels are protected. John, give us some stories, pros and cons about, obviously the need to be engaged. That's pretty obvious, but some people may not think so with regards to our Christian values. Why is it important that we get engaged?
Government belongs to those who show up, and we live in a constitutional republic. If we were living in the land of, pharaohs or Nero, where they were killing Christians if they didn't recant, we'd be training our kids, hey, even if they put you to the stake or feed you to lions, don't recant. But that's not where we live. We've been so fortunate to live in a constitutional republic. We get to elect who governs us, but government belongs to those who show up. We have to show up. The number one reason people don't is they think this is statistical. They think their vote doesn't matter. They think everybody's a hypocrite. And so they're tired of holding their nose and voting for the lesser two evils. I'm like, until Jesus runs, which he's not going to do, you're going to always have flawed people, and you've got to stop evil sometimes instead of just have somebody who's your perfect pastor, or they're too busy. And I know that sounds crazy, but people are like, oh, I meant to vote, but they don't realize that Jesus is very clear. We're salt and light. We can't hide under a bushel. We can't take that light and not influence. And the answer to everything that is dark in the culture is turning the lights on, is mobilizing these people. And so when they show up, it matters. And I'll give you examples. I mean, some of these elections are razor thin. The closest election in 22 was Harriet Miller Meeks up in CD2 in Iowa. It was almost 400,000 votes. And do you know that Republican lady won by 6 votes? Wow. She's a vote in the United States Congress by 6 votes. Let me put that in perspective. In 2026, in every off year, the numbers of Christians that don't vote is 60%. So 10 of your friends, everybody listening to me, 10 of your friends, 6 of them will not vote next November. And if they do, they could literally decide a congressional seat. You don't know which one's the most close. So what we're trying to do is take that number of faith people and say, make that 6 of your friends, where if you send 10 of them this candidate fact sheet, several of them are going to vote. And that's what changes these elections. That's why we're trying to tell people, hey, you can get this at the local level. We've always done the Senate guides at the President's Senate. We're trying to do that. And so our action partners, we've got lots of them. We're trying to train them to research so that we can now add 45 to 65 House races, then state Senate, then state. And we want to get this candidate fact sheet all the way down to the local level by mobilizing people that are willing to research, that have law degrees and have some extra time, or they're paralegals, and they can legally vet that we're never endorsing or opposing, that these footnotes are not artificial intelligence. So we spend a lot of work. Basically, I call it putting the cookies on the lowest shelf. Yeah. If we work really, really hard, we put the cookies on the lowest shelf and everybody can go get one.
Well, thank you, John. Our special guest and friend, John Graves, CEO of Million Voices, and your website is millionvoices.org, millionvoices.org, mobilizing and educating and equipping pastors, partners, and people. Pastors, partners, and people. A great combination. Thank you for joining us on Freedom Alive.
My pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Matt, we often think about we the people, but John's point I thought was fantastic. Government belongs to the people who show up. Right?
Yeah, that's right. And if you, I mean, we talk about government belongs to the people, or we the people, but who sets the policy of the government? It's only those people who show up to vote. And it's those people who are crafting the future of the country by voting for or against individuals, or voting for or against particular pieces of legislation or policies.
I thought his point also about the 26 midterms, right? And really talk about the stakes, whether President Trump is a 2-year president or a 4-year president. There are 47 out of 68 races, House races, that they've got earmarked and looking at analytically with all of the tools that they've developed. I think that's just fascinating and really heartening.
Well, and that's why I like what he's doing, because it's strategic. It's not just throwing a bunch of things out there. It's doing it with information and knowledge to be able to mobilize the right kind of people to vote biblically and just to educate them.
Yes. Very, very important topic. We're delighted to be able to bring it to you. In closing, remember Galatians 5, verse 1, which says, "It was for freedom that Christ set us free. Therefore, keep standing firm and do not be subject again to a yoke of slavery." Our freedom is a gift from our Creator. We must never forget that and always protect it. Join us here next time. You'll hear victories as well as ways you can stand up for your priceless freedom. Join us again for Freedom Alive.